Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to the Let Joe Talk, or welcome back. This is the show here from ActionX where I just ramble to a camera about whatever the topic is. If you're clicking on this, it's for a reason. This week's topic, I'm just going to cut to the short Jimmy of it. What to do when you have FOMO. And if you don't know what FOMO is because you're still you live under a rock and you still don't understand the new slang words or the old slang words like me. Like it took me, I think, at least, I want to say 8 years since I found out what the hell FOMO was. And then when I found out what it was, it's like, oh, damn, now I realize that. And this is kind of a weird topic. And here on Let Joe Talk, I just talk about whatever I want. It's never really topical most of the time. It's really just whatever I want to talk about. Hopefully it's going to help you out. And definitely I have a lot of experience in this field. Because in my life, currently I am now 23 years old, and I am freaking old. Because when I started this channel, I was 12, and oh my god, I am so freaking old. But anyway, well, not that old. I'm not 25 yet. I'm not at the quarter century mark. I'm not there yet. I'm still young and building. Anyway, so FOMO, if you don't know what it means, it stands for fear of missing out, and basically it's pretty much what it's set out to be. You fear of missing out something. And I think for me, we're going to go over the margin here, just to kind of clarify some things. I want to say, even when I was a kid, I always had FOMO. I believe my first real case of FOMO was when I want to say 9 years old, 10 years old. Growing up as a kid, if you ask Mike or Chowers, who have been on my podcast before, they can describe me as a very energetic kid. I was very vocal, very competitive sorts. I hadn't dealt the harsh reality of, what I looked like, the kid I was back then. I hadn't really come to terms of that person. So when it finally dawned on me, so my first experience of FOMO was when, and this was more as a negative thing, not really much on my end of things. It was a friend of mine at the time's birthday. He was having a party, and he invited the whole class, except for me. And now keep this in mind. I already invited him to my birthday party prior, earlier that school year. And then when the invites rolled out for his birthday party, I didn't get one. And when I confronted him on it, he never really gave me a straight answer. He just didn't. There was never. He just said, "Oh, okay." That's how he phrased it, from what I remember. It never was a. Here's the reason why I didn't invite you, but I also didn't get a sort of like, oh, maybe your invite, like a stupid excuse, like, oh, your invite got lost in the mail or something, that sort of thing. So I got really bummed out since the weekend that it happened. All my friends were there. All my friends in class and a couple friends I had, around the school. They went, and I called them, I believe, the next day, and they were telling me about the party, and it was like, I felt bad that I wasn't there, and I would have loved to be there. And it goes to show, like, yeah, even as a kid, people can be asshats sometimes. It's really unfortunate, but that's the nature of kids. And to be fair, I know, again, I'm just saying this before, we were kids. But again, this happens in middle school and high school and college and life. You're going to be excluded from something. And it really is unfortunate. And, and then the whole FOMO thing happens because, like, something cool happens at that event and you weren't there to experience it. And I guess for me, it kind of rose more prominently in middle school as I was getting more bullied a lot. I was getting more excluded from stuff. And then, of course, for at least the kids in my generation, I'm not sure how things are now. I don't really keep track of anything beyond George's generation. Let's just say that, because George is a year younger than me. I don't really keep track of that sort of stuff anymore. But around my generation, a lot of kids or preteens, teens, whatever you want to call that middle school generation, they were starting to have certain adult experiences. I'll say that. This is not a restricted, mature show, so I'm being very PG-13 here. Certain things happen. And a lot more were happening towards the 8th grade. Like, you're leaving middle school, you're going to high school, and then you're starting to have those experiences. You're getting older, you're starting to get a little bit more aware. Like, you're not a kid anymore, but you're not a teenager properly. You're slowly growing into that stratosphere of maturity and, getting to the next step. And I was seeing a lot of people that I personally knew not friends, most of them, but more of like along the lines of, hey, I know you. I was seeing them mostly doing those certain adult things, and then there was me, a pudgy 12-year-old who was scoring 0 to nothing. Actually, no, not even 0. I was scoring in the negative. Like, there was no probability in my field then. There wasn't. And I did have a little bit of FOMO back then because I wanted to have those experiences. Like, one of my best friends, well, he's still my best friend now, but like, one of my best friends at the time when he was just a friend, he had those experiences and he told me about them to an extent. And I was kind of feeling bummed because like, I want to have those experiences, but it's a mutual, agreement thing, because I'm trying to be very PG-13 here and also being very respectful. That's sort of like a agreement between two people, like, oh, we're gonna do this, and there was no one who wanted to do it with me, if I have to be PG-13 about that. And actually, that was the only real case of me getting the R-rated FOMO, because I wanted to, obviously, of course, everyone's going to have them at different ages. Everyone's going to have different experiences as they grow up. Not everyone's universal. I get that. But at the time, I was like, oh, if everyone else is doing it, where's my chances of happening of that? And I didn't have that. So I definitely had a case of FOMO there. And of course, obviously, it's a thing that happens later in life. So it's going to happen to you at some point down the line. But so I'm just saying. And I know those examples are like very minor in terms of like, what the whole terminology of FOMO really is. But I'm getting them. I'm just describing my pace of things, if you know what I'm saying. Because then I got to high school, and then while I managed to branch out my friend circle a lot more in high school. I definitely still had those cases of FOMO where I was not the most popular person in my groups. I was very much an underling, I'm saying that very horribly. I was not on, how do I say this nicely? Like, I was not on everyone's number one choices of like, oh, come along with this. There were definitely cases where I had to either force myself to be part of something, and then they were usually trying to distance themselves from me, or I just, frankly, was just not invited. I'll just say that much. Like, there was people in my friend group at the time who I can name, like, not name. I can think of 5 people on that list. Like, they had, similar to the elementary school thing, they didn't invite me to the birthday party, they didn't invite me to any extracurricular activities. And then obviously, of course, with the rise of social media in my generation, especially around the high school time period, seeing that on Instagram, seeing that on Facebook, I definitely felt jealous because, like, I wasn't there. And, a lot of my friends, they were there. And, here I was at home viewing these pictures and not being there. I have more harsh examples, but I'm not trying to, like, not trying to paint a negative image of them. I have no ill will towards them. Again, we were still technically kids. So I am not trying to blame them or anything. I'm just mentioning the basic, examples that I have on the top of my head. And especially, again, jumping forward to senior year, definitely senior year was not the preferred, my senior year was not the preferred way of having one. You would usually get you're going to have a fun time throughout the entire year. You're going to blow for your classes. You're going to go to your senior trip. You're going to go to senior prom. You're going to do all the fun senior things. And I keep saying senior a lot, man, but I'm not a senior citizen. But the thing I'm trying to say is that I didn't have that. I didn't have majority of that experience because it was mostly a financial thing because I could not financially afford to do those things. And it sucked. I really wanted to go on my senior trip, and thankfully none of my close friends went there, but I still wanted to have those experiences because my other friends from other schools, they seemed to have like a great enough time. And again, it was like, okay, I couldn't physically be with them, but I still wanted to have that same camaraderie experience of, hey, we did the same thing together, even though we weren't together, which sounds a lot like my romance life. But anyway, what was I going to say? I forgot what the hell I said. That last joke kind of flew me for a loop. And then senior prom. Of course, senior prom is like probably one of my top 3 biggest cases of FOMO, where half my friends went, they had dates, they had an amazing time, and I felt bummed I wasn't there. I've watched so many prom-related stuff growing up, from High School Musical 3 to a lot of TV shows that tackle on the theme of prom, to the prom movie. If anyone remembers the Disney prom movie, if you somehow remember that, let me know in the comments below, because the music video attached to that freaking movie was like, it's weird. I want to hate that movie, but I think I would like that movie, but I never seen that movie, so it's on the list for next year at some point. But I felt bummed that I didn't get to go to my prom. I could have went solo. There was someone I wanted to ask, but it wasn't even, I didn't even do any of that because it was more of I could not afford the tickets. I couldn't afford the suit. I couldn't afford to even chip in for the limo. That's how broke I was starting to get. That's how, not broke, but okay. Okay. Let me retract that statement. I was not broke. I was like we were financially constrained. I'll say that much. So I couldn't have that experience, and that was very unfortunate. And I went, and ironically for my school, we had a senior picnic or senior barbecue the next day. So a lot of my friends were hungover or exhausted from the night before. So, and I was completely energized. And while I was glad to be at the barbecue portion, I don't remember us hanging out that much afterwards because they were just exhausted. I just went home after that, which again was another fear of like, I want to have a similar experience to these guys, but they already had their experience, and here I was just eating a burger and a hot dog, which describes me on most summer vacations. Not last year because, COVID. Anyway, so I've tried to make an effort of, now going to college, which again is a weird thing for me to say since I think I technically just wrapped college. I say think technically because I'm not sure where I am at this point in this video in terms of like, real world time setting. So it's weird for me to say this when I was in college. It's so weird for me to say that because, in college felt like the longest stretch of time, and now that that's technically over for me, I'm still very much I'm still accepting that. But anyway, college was the same thing. Also, I did not have your typical college experience in a way where, again, movies and TV shows painted of like, oh, hey, you're 18 years old. You're going to go to another state with no one with barely any money, and you're going to get bigger because you have an all-you-can-eat buffet. If you have a dining plan, you're going to probably just stay in your dorm all the time. You're going to go to parties. You're going to join a fraternity. Well, in my case, male, females with sorority. You're going to have lots of sex. You're going to drink a lot. You're going to be exhausted every final season. I had maybe 5% of that experience, which was me on the finals thing. If you have seen any of my older videos, you would be not surprised to see like, oh, I'm not surprised this guy didn't even have 95% of what I just mentioned. Not to say I didn't try per se. I definitely try to grow out of my comfort circle. Not my comfort circle. I was trying to grow into a new stage of my life, slowly in pieces, but I never caught on fairly quick because I think I took the more responsible path of being a college student, which was definitely working while I was studying so I can get some sort of financial income going to kind of kickstart my financial independence from my family or my parents. Not my family, but you know what I mean. I took that more responsible route, and that's not to say like, oh hey, you could mix them all together, you could do it, but here's the thing you need to know about me. I need sleep. I want to do my hobbies. And that's another thing, because you're going to fear I'm missing a lot. And I'm going to jump back on this point later on. And of course, obviously, the title of this video is like, what are you supposed to do with FOMO? Honestly, to kind of jump ahead a little bit, because I know I kind of derailed with, my personal experiences without tackling on the actual question I presented in this video. I feel like you need to be aware that no matter what in your life, you could be a kid, a teenager, a young adult, an adult, a senior citizen. You could be the most popular guy in the world. You could be the most antisocial person in the world. I didn't want to be so negative there. You can be in any stage, any position in your life, regardless of how you look, what you associate yourself with in terms of hobbies and affiliations, all that sort of thing. Everyone's unique. Everyone's different. And that's the thing. You are not going to have the same experiences. I understand, like, oh, if you're in a certain circle or you're around someone and then, you kind of see them doing other things without you, it hurts for a while because you would assume that, oh, they're my friend or they're my significant other or they're my family member. They're going to invite me because of my connections with them. And then they don't. And then when those, either you hear about it for someone else or you see it on social media, you kind of get bummed out. But I think as of late, I don't have that anymore. I don't have much of a FOMO. I think like most of the time I always had FOMO because I would constantly be on social media and constantly just looking like, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. Why wasn't I there? Why wasn't I invited? That sort of thing. And I accepted it because, well, I'm just talking about this pre-pandemic. I'm the same pre-pandemic when everyone was able to like go do, their normal things and doing social things, which also describes us doing what some people doing during the pandemic, but not trying to be insultful there, but you know what I mean. You know I'm right. But hashtag Joe was right. But I kind of grew out of that. I always now view those pictures and those videos with a smile because I'm happy for them. I'm happy for my friends that they're doing cool things. And yeah, it would be awesome if I was there, but sometimes like, oh hey, they're on a anniversary dinner with their significant other. I think it would be awkward for like, here's the couple, here's the happy couple on their special day, and then there's Joe. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I view things differently now, and I try not to be there because again, I'm only one person. I have a very limited schedule. I am, even if I wanted to, sometimes I'm not able to do everything, and that's the unfortunate part because I got to be a responsible adult here. I work. I'm still trying to figure out my future. I also want to do these videos for YouTube, and they take a significant amount of time to produce, make, edit, and all that sorts. I have hobbies, and also I want my free time. I want some me time, which is watching shows that is not related to what's on the tube, or just to play a video game that doesn't have me streaming. That's what I want to do. And I don't even know what else I have going on because this is a time capsule episode. I'm recording this in like the month before, so I don't even know what's going on in January. But I'm just saying that you kind of grow out of it eventually because it's not something you would eventually worry about because there's just so much other things to do in your personal life that like you should not be held up on this one little thing that you missed out on. And here's the thing, half the stuff I already mentioned in the beginning of this episode, I basically gotten over them. I gotten over them. I'm fine with that because what am I gonna do? Like, what is the difference between me going to a birthday party that I was not invited to? I would just have eaten the entire buffet table, probably eaten half the cake, and then probably just left without giving them a present, which describes majority of my birthday going to friends experiences growing up. But anyway, that's not going to change anything. That's the thing. And maybe there's a reason why you weren't invited. Maybe there's a reason. And, I don't know if you believe in God. If you're watching this, if you believe in some sort of higher being or you believe in destiny, just the basic logic of there's a reason for everything. There's probably a reason why you were not meant to go to that event. Maybe another better thing happened to you during that time period. Maybe it didn't. Who knows? Or maybe it's just a way of showing you that, like, hey, those people don't really care about you in the way that you think. And of course, obviously, there's other types of FOMO that I wasn't able to mention before. That just there's some sort of event like so recently. Again, pre-pandemic, I wanted to go to San Diego Comic-Con. I wanted to go to New York Comic-Con. I wanted to go to E3. I wanted to do these traveling things. And I see people on my Twitter, people I just associate myself with or I just follow, and they're there, and I'm like, I have the financial means to go there, but I just couldn't get the opportunity to go there because usually they just sell out quickly. And I want to be there, but I'm not there. And I feel bad because, like, oh, they have this exclusive Funko Pop that I want to add to my collection, even though I technically could just buy them online. Or just seeing a celebrity that I'll probably see at some point in the future. Like, it's the little things, like, when you start really thinking about it, like, obviously, of course, if it's like let's say, for an example, when you see, even I don't want to say this because it's kind of, insulting. When you want to see, like, a special performance by an artist, and then you had a chance to go, or you were in the time zone of probably going, and you missed it, and then something tragic happens. They either drop out of the industry or they sadly pass away, something of that extent, and you missed that chance. I'll be honest here. I'm willing to say this because again, this is an opinionated show, my show. So, take it as what you will. I could have seen Michael Jackson live. In the This Is It tour, because again, I'm aware he passed away, and I'm aware that the tour never happened. I'm aware of that, but that's kind of like something similar to that vein, because I could, had he not passed away and he did those concerts, I could have went, and I probably would not have went, and then that would have been his last performance, and I would have never seen him perform. I was a huge Michael Jackson fan growing up, and I would have loved to see him on stage performing the songs that me, my dad, and my mom all listened to when I was growing up. That's something similar to that, in that sort of logic sphere. But and also again, like FOMO can mean a lot of things. That's the thing, and I think in the general sense of things is that majority of them are very much write off. You can write them off. Like they're going to happen at some point down the line in another wave experience, and it's going to be a much more worth it experience for you to have because now you're a part of it. So things take their time. I think that's the theme with majority of my wisdom. Things happen when they happen. That's the thing. I'm grateful, for example, when I started making money and I saw my friends, people I follow on social media, they started going to new places. They started traveling. They started going to Mexico. They started going to LA. They started going all over the place in the world. And eventually I felt like that's cool for them. That's really cool that they get to have a much more broader experience of the whole world. And I wasn't able to do that because either I just didn't want to financially put my money into those trips, or I just didn't have the time, or I just didn't want to leave work. Whatever the factor was, 2 years ago, I finally did my first solo vacation away from my state of New York. And that felt awesome. It was great. And, I finally had that experience. And that was a worthwhile experience to have for the first time. To be able to go out on your own, to be able to do things on your own, to do a vacation wherever you want to go. And that's the place you go to. I was so happy to have that experience. I was so fortunate. And, and again, now that I view everyone else having those experiences, that's great. I'm going to have more of that experience down in my life. And I don't have that fear of FOMO anymore. Now, of course, I think the more private example, the more personal example that I have yet to talk about is, with my friend circle. I'm a much more confident, more vocal. I can say that honestly. I think I'm way more secure and way more direct with people than I was when I was younger. I could definitely talk to more people. I could definitely associate myself with more people than before. But the whole point I'm trying to mention is that my friend circle is small, and I'm able to still, make new friends, but also be very selective on who I have join my inner circle of friends, like a very tight, close circle. Even when I'm with them, I sometimes get FOMO because there's certain friends that are like even way more socially active than me for any number of reasons. And then they get to do cool shit, or they're with cool people, or they get to do a certain event, and I'm like, oh my God, I wish I was there, and then usually there's a very simple explanation for that. Oh, why wasn't I invited? And don't get me wrong, I love my friends. I have no ill will towards them. I never, angrily text them, oh, hey, why wasn't I invited? Why, I always invite you to my events. Why didn't you invite me to this? I don't do that. I don't. Because I don't like wasting my time in arguments. And also, there's a reason for that. It's a very simple explanation. And then when you hear that explanation, you take it at face value because you can trust those people, and then you move on. And hopefully someday down the line, you get to have that experience for your own right or with that friend. Who knows? And yeah, but so it's perfectly fine sometimes to be excluded, and perfectly fine sometimes to have FOMO, because eventually you're going to grow out of it. Eventually you're going to start becoming more busy in your life to eventually not focus on that anymore. Like something that I always say to myself, especially during this time period of pandemic and not being able to do everything I want to because of COVID and everything, there is always something to do. There's a ton of things on my checklist to do. I could either be making more videos. I could be cleaning out my house more. I could be playing more video games. I could be watching more shows or movies. Or I could be curating my collections even more so. Improving my current setup. There's a lot of things I could do. So the fear of missing out is something that, like, yes, in that specific instance you are, but you're not missing out on something else. There's usually something you're getting instead of the other thing you think you would want. There's always a reason. There's always a plan, and you will have those experiences at some point down the line. So for me personally, it's something that you would grow out of. The fear of missing out on something and the feeling of having been excluded. And believe me, it sucks. It really sucks. I am probably the leading example of, that happening to me. But it's something you're going to grow out of as you get older. So if you're watching this as you're a teenager, don't worry. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's going to suck in the moment, but eventually down like 5 years, you're going to probably forget like, oh, this happened? Okay, sure. Move on with my day. That's basically it. You're going to be fine. That feeling is a very temporary feeling. It's going to go away. Believe me, there's a ton of other problems in the world right now that you should be focusing on beside just the fear of not going on this very unsafe excursion when the vaccine is still not relatively available to everyone and still risking to you and your health. So don't worry. You're fine. Things are going to happen when they happen for you, and you'll be happy when it does happen. So patience is key. The feeling of missing out and exclusion will go away over time, with time. So I believe that's all I can say for this matter. So I think that's going to do it for me, everyone. So if you were unaware and you just passed out, which I kind of want to, I'm kidding. This has been Legio Talk from Action X. If you want to see more Legio Talks, we post a brand new episode each and every Wednesday on Action X. And if you want to see more of that, please subscribe to Action X on YouTube.com. Ring our bell when our next episode is live. Like, favorite, share this episode if you want to support us even further, as well as follow us on social media, follow us on Twitch to be up to date on the world of Action X and of all the stuff we're producing. And for updates, if anything happens in the schedule, or maybe it's an addition, maybe we have to move something, you'll be in the know. But until then, be safe out there, be good to each other, and peace out.